All right, Kristine, welcome to the Brand Innovators Podcast.
Lauren, I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. We had a little bit of technical difficulties with some fire alarms, but we are here and we are ready to chat.
Ready to go.
Cool. Well, I wanted to talk to you. Obviously, you're at Canva, and Canva is one of the most interesting, innovative, and exciting companies, I think, in the world of marketing right now. I think what you guys are doing with like your social media is really exciting. Like, talk to me a little bit about like what's the vibe there? Is it sort of this open testing, environment, and how do you kind of cultivate that?
Yeah. Well, I feel that way too, and I feel really lucky to be part of this team in this moment. I would say just kind of the ethos of the company overall is that everybody feels really fired up. It's this sense that we've had this great growth trajectory we've been on, but we still have a lot of really big goals to do, and the team feels very mission driven. We talked a little bit before about how, Mel, our founder at the highest level, has us focused on a two-step plan. Mm-hmm. So first step is like, let's go be the best company we can be, the most valuable company we can be, and then let's look at how we can do the most good that we can.
Right.
So what that means is that everybody around you is on that bus, right? People are very mission driven. Folks work hard, but there's still a sense of kind of scrappiness and a feeling of entrepreneurialism where you can still, things aren't so like codified, you can still come up with big ideas, see them through. So that environment feels very electric and dynamic and really fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's cool when you have a mission-driven leader like that, where it is like our first and foremost is to create value, and then our second is to do good. And I think that's really cool because it just gives people like marching orders, and like everyone knows.
Totally.
And if you don't have that, sometimes there's a vacuum, and then people are going off in all different directions. But to have that like very clear, mandate, I think is really powerful.
Yeah, I think when you're really rooted in your why and your purpose, then everything falls into place and makes sense.
People work together then, right? And then all the wheels are turning in the same direction, which I think is really helpful.
We're really big on metaphors at Canva, whether it's kind of climbing the mountain together or rowing together. And I think those things become real when you're all sort of anchored in that sense of shared North Star, shared why. It makes hustling for that work feel like it's grounded in something bigger than yourself. And that's been really galvanizing for the team.
Cool. You have a very cool social. Like,
Thank
I would
you.
say every time I'm trying to advise people on their social media strategies, I'm like, well, look at what Canva's doing. What is going into that? Why is it so innovative? Why is it so successful? What's the secret sauce there?
Yeah, thank you for that. I want to shout out Shirley Tatt, who leads our social, who is just an absolute dynamo in terms of, and the whole team working on our social. I think for us, we are inspired and grounded by our community. We have 225 people all over the world who are using Canva, and the things that
225 million
isn't that
people?
bananas? And the things that they do are more imaginative, more full of ingenuity than I think anything we could really manufacture. So we're really inspired by that community. What is the things that we see them creating, user-generated content, and we also really try to be both, timely and timeless, right? Timeless in the sense that we're very clear what our brand stands for, and that is about empowering people. We want people to achieve their goals. We want to be the shortest distance between what's the concept or dream or mission in your mind, and then how can you render that in a design so you can start to scale your idea, like bring it to other people, manifest it, bring it to the world. So empowerment is the thing that everything ladders up to. But the timely thing is also like can we adapt in a way that's relevant for us to take advantage of the moment in a way that adds value. So that could be something just fun, like we have a partnership with Pinterest. We did some fun things with them around Pinterest Predicts. We had some fun when Pantone announced their color of the year, because of course we're all about design and palettes and fonts. But also in moments like the LA fires, like how can we create templates so that organizations can scale their impact and help to add some value there. So yeah, I think it's coming back to our community, coming back to, again, that scrappy ethos. You'll probably notice we grab Canvanauts, as we call ourselves in the office, and we film things on the fly.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. Like, how do you think about using your employees as like a part of the brand voice?
Yeah, when I think about our community, I think about the employees as sort of the beating heart at the center, right? If we're not really living that and living the values and being those evangelists about what Canva stands for, then you're lost, right? It has to start from the inside out. So we really do use, folks on the ground to maybe workshop an idea in the morning and just say, let's go film it. Let's go film it. Let's bring this to life, and let's help unlock more value from the product in a way that's entertaining and fun and hopefully relatable.
So tell me a little bit about your journey. You started on the agency side for quite some time, then you moved into Meta, and now this is your first time on the brand side. Is that right?
Really, Meta was my first time on the brand side.
All right.
So we chatted a little bit before this recording. I know we're both Midwestern gals.
St. Louis girls.
St. Louis girls. And really, I think we also spoke about, we had kind of big dreams of, I always wanted to work in New York City. I wanted to be like Don Draper when I was in, like that was like
100%.
my dream,
Yeah.
right?
When we both had, I told my parents when I was 6 I was moving to New York, and you had a shoebox with money that you would save up, which is so
little
cute.
Orange Nike shoebox with a Sharpie that I wrote New York City.
Oh my
It's like you
God,
can't make
that's
this
so
stuff
cute.
up. So I was saving to do that, and I graduated kind of shortly after 9/11. There weren't a ton of jobs. I moved home briefly to fill that shoebox, and started working for a startup that was doing digital media and doing search marketing when that was quite new. And that startup was acquired by WPP.
Okay,
So
cool.
I just rode the coattails of that out to New York City within a few months. And really, my time in the agency was characterized by new practices and new mediums. So things that's kind of like, I say this a lot to young people now, like, you don't know what jobs will be here in 20 years.
Totally.
And my entire career was really riding the wave of the internet, whether it was, starting with search marketing, programmatic. I led our social media team for a number of years.
Wow.
And, there wasn't a blueprint or a playbook where
of
we'd go
course.
into AT&T or Macy's the next day and say, hey, you talk to people, they're talking back now. What are we going to do about that?
Right.
So I loved doing that because you were, again, being very entrepreneurial within the construct of a big company like WPP.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because you got to learn so many core competencies of digital right as they were sort of at riding that wave, which is lucky.
Absolutely, very lucky. And I think it all makes sense when you look backwards. But at the time, it was like, say
like,
yes
what
and
is this
figure it
hot
out.
mess? Yeah,
Swing for the
totally.
fences.
Sure.
Let's go. Yeah, exactly. I didn't know enough to know that I couldn't do it, so you just try to figure it out. But I was in New York for about 10 years and then had the opportunity to move out west and did client leadership for the Netflix business for a few years, which was amazing because they were right at that moment where they were moving from DVDs into streaming, into creating original content, and going global. And that was an amazing training ground for me about kind of being in Silicon Valley, thinking about impact and scale in a different way and merging data and creativity. And then from that, I moved into Meta.
Okay.
So I was there for 7 years. I did a lot of different roles, from launching our video products on the PMM side, working with amazing product leaders, leading brand marketing for the Facebook app for a period of time, and doing a lot of PMM gigs. So it was a great opportunity to see how product and marketing and comms and engineering can all come together to drive scale, to define new categories. And then with Canva, I was just so lucky. This role really combines all of the different disciplines that I have a lot of passion for into sort of one area and one scope that is bringing that kind of data-driven rigor, but also that creative brand sensibility together in a way that I think really speaks to me.
That's interesting. So it's kind of like you didn't plan it this way, but you just happened to come into this role where like all of these little pieces of the puzzle come into and now you can step back and see like, oh, it's a picture, it's a full painting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know some people are quite keen on 5-year plans and having a lot of structure, but I'm sort of more focused on kind of what is that little voice inside me saying to say yes to, listening to your instincts, maybe having a long-term North Star, being clear on your values and what you're optimizing for. But the rest of it, there's so much out of our control.
Right.
And it's just, trying to raise your hand and take the right risks at the right time. And also when it doesn't work out, dusting off and, taking a pivot. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that takes a certain level of like openness and vulnerability to be able to ride that wave, because if you're, it is, that's one thing I think about when I was younger is like everything seemed like such a big deal. But really, like if you can learn, like these things are just going to happen, like ups and downs. The economy is going to be good and then bad, and then things are going to change, and then this is going to shift. And if you can learn to ride that wave, you're going to be a much better employee, executive,
Yeah, I mean, live a richer life, honestly.
live a richer life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we talked a little bit. I know you ask a lot in some of these interviews, like what would you say to your younger self?
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting frame, because if I saw her, other than maybe some fashion tips, I'd be like, girl, stop. What are you doing? I think, like, I don't know if that would change anything, because you have to make your mistakes. Like, you have to do those things on your journey. You have to also realize the things you think are cataclysmic are just kind of road bumps
They're just little
in the
bumps.
journey.
Yeah.
But if I were to say anything, I would be focused on trusting that intuition. You know more than you think you do. You have more information if you just trust that, even though it seems like everyone has the answers in these senior roles behind closed doors, you should be humble and make sure you're learning all the time, but also you have a lot of kind of instinct and true north in yourself that you can listen to. And I would say just be brave, because even when it doesn't work out, you're building that bravery muscle.
Yeah.
And it's trite to say, but the things you look back on are not the things where you took a big swing and it didn't work out. It's like, oh, what if I had just spoken up?
Yes.
Or if I hadn't felt maybe intimidated by somebody who had a big voice in a room, how could I have contributed? So I think it's really, I would encourage young women or my younger self to go for it.
That makes sense. I think that, the bravery thing it's tough because you always think that everyone else knows more than you. If you don't, you're, especially when you're young and you're kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Do they know what they're doing? He seems like he knows. She's definitely knows what she's doing. And then, it's hard to think about that and to be brave. But like, I think you're right. It's like when you look back, you do end up knowing a lot more than you thought you did. And you do have that, like that intuition and that gut check.
Totally.
And then that matters.
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't want to misquote Michelle Obama, who I hold in the highest esteem, but I know she had shared something about, you have this idea that there's someone with all the answers, but you get into these very Tony rooms.
Yes.
And yes, there are remarkable people and great thinkers, but you do realize that everyone's figuring it out. Everyone's on a learning journey. And I think once you get into those different echelons and you realize there's not a place where it's all sorted and codified, it can feed more of that bravery, that it's okay for you to take those risks. It's okay to not know.
Yeah. Not knowing is a big deal. I agree with that. It's like, who knows? Nobody knows. Even if they seem like they know, they don't know. So it's okay.
I'm freaked out when people think they are so certain.
Right.
Kind of like,
yes. Yeah.
A little healthy curiosity is
Yeah,
good.
there's a concept in Buddhism called beginner's mind. And it's that idea that you come to it with a totally new, even if you already know what you're doing, you come to something with a beginner's mind because it might be different. There might be nuance. There might be, and I think that does take a lot of like strength and vulnerability to be able to be like, I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's test.
I love beginner's mind as a concept. It lets you disrupt yourself.
Yeah.
When you feel really uncomfortable, it's probably good because you're challenging things that have become more routine.
Yes.
And you're not letting yourself kind of get in those patterns where you're not aware of what's happening around you. You're not in that growth place.
Absolutely.
One thing I talk to my team about a lot, too, is having an abundance mindset. So all these tools that help us just have a sense of openness, hold things loosely.
Yeah.
You always have options. You're always like the protagonist of your own story. Things aren't just happening to you.
Yeah.
There's always, it's kind of like going in a situation, and even one that feels pretty south, and say, okay, what's going right here? If I could see one thing going right, if I could think about what's possible, and just sort of like you feel like physically like you're opening up a little bit to what is possible.
And how do you handle like when that ego kicks in and you're like, and you feel that you're aggrieved or somebody's coming for you or somebody said something nasty to you in an email or whatever? I can tell that you have a vibe of being very like, all right, I'm just going to take that. I'm going to put it over here for now. Like, how do you do that? Is that true? And how do you do that?
Well, first of all, everyone, I'm a human. So of course you have those moments where you feel whatever it might be, minimized, misunderstood, all the things we can feel.
You're reading something in a tone that maybe isn't even intended, but you're reading it that way.
100%. I think it's a couple things. We all have to have our own tools to get, a lot of, I think being successful is an inside job, right? How do you get yourself right? But I think...
How are you going to win if you ain't right within, according to Lauryn Hill?
Amen. Look, we're quoting all the greats. We're quoting all the greats today. I mean, I do try to assume best intent. I start there. You know, I try to think, what does that other person need? How do I have empathy for their situation? I generally find people aren't bad actors.
No.
They're just in tricky situations.
Yes.
So I try to lead with empathy.
Yeah.
And I try to do the things in my life that just ground me. And, you know, we were talking a bit before on International Women's Day about all the different, you know, hats women can wear professionally, personally. And I always check in with kind of like my community, my kitchen cabinet who knows me and who knows like my heart, my worth. I check in with my family, my 3 kids who are not impressed with anything I do at work at all, but who just help me to just find that kind of sturdiness, that sturdy center. So then I can go off and deal with whatever I need to deal with.
Right. And kind of going back to, at least I have to do this a lot of like, big picture doesn't matter. Small deal, you know?
My dad, with his good Midwestern common sense, always says, Chris, will this matter 6 months from now?
Right.
And when you're in it, you're like, you know, Dad. But there's a lot of wisdom in that, right?
Of course.
Over the long arc. And it doesn't mean, I think you can simultaneously hold things loosely and also be passionate.
Yes.
I don't mean be apathetic. I don't mean careless. I don't mean let people cross boundaries. That is not what I mean.
Right.
You can have absolute backbone and strength, but you can also have a sense of kind of lightness and openness that will allow you to see things that might otherwise be in your blind spot.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I can tell that you're a good leader because of that. It just, you have that vibe.
I mean, I try to be a good leader. I'm always learning from my team. I know people say a lot they hire people smarter than them, but I 100% have such a talented group of folks. So kind of my leadership style, if I have one, is just how do I unblock? How do I let them shine? And then how can I, you know, maybe be a little bit of that port in the storm for them as they're working through the same challenges we just discussed.
Do you have anything you're really excited about that you're working on right now?
I'm excited about so many things right now. I'll touch on 2 that are kind of hot off the presses. One, we have some new creative work coming out next week, which hopefully you'll kind of see out in the world. And it's really focused on this idea of, it's a little tongue-in-cheek around presentation traumas. We've all been sitting with like, you know, horrible presentations that are mundane and long and maybe very word heavy, and there's not a lot of connection happening or communication. We've been subjected to them. We've given them at times. So it's really talking about how Canva can really help you to elevate what you're doing, how you're communicating, using visual communications to really connect. And we're doing it through kind of this fun device of kind of a wink intervention. And we have the iconic Lorraine Bracco who's helming that. And she just brings so much into that kind of therapist corner of bringing that to light. So I'm really excited for people to see that work and hopefully to experience the benefits that product can deliver on that dimension. And the other thing, everyone at Canva right now is focused on our flagship event, Canva Create, coming to LA at the SoFi Theater on April 10th.
Oh, congratulations.
So we're very excited.
That's exciting.
Yes, it's our big moment. It's all about celebrating our community. So it's like 4,000 folks, 100 speakers, 60 sessions. Lauren, you got to come. And we have amazing speakers headlining in terms of like John Baptiste or, you know, Guy Raz. The president of Anthropics. We have a lot of great folks, and we just signed Cynthia Erivo to speak, and so she's coming off an amazing moment of the Oscars, and
very cool.
I find her very inspiring.
That's awesome. Well, that's very exciting. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kristine. I appreciate you coming on, and thank you for your time.
It has been such a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you so much, Lauren.
Yeah, absolutely.